We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast, everyone. This is Abe, your host. It is 8 a.m., September 19th. Just got off work. It was actually a pretty chill night, so that was cool. I always like a chill night. Usually around fall and winter, I feel like it gets a little more chill and slows down a little bit, I think. But, as far as updates, car's running good now. I don't know if I said that at last episode. It was putting around acting weird because I drove through too high of water. But yeah, it acted funky for about 10-15 minutes last time I drove it, and then it straightened itself out, so that's cool. Today I actually do not have I've had like couple episodes here and there planned of just kind of fun episodes, so that's what this is going to be. But I had planned it like so far back ago, hence why like I haven't really had title artwork in forever, because normally I'll plan like an episode and go ahead and draw it up, the title for it, and go ahead and color it. I don't know, just it gives each episode a different title art, and I don't know, I feel like for me it feels like I'm putting more effort into the podcast and stuff, which I always try to do. But yeah, I mean, life is crazy. There's always something new coming out, always something new and crazy, but I've pretty much covered everything as far as what's going on in the world right now. That I really wanted to cover, some stuff that pops up, it's just, to me, it's like, oh, that's not really that important or interesting in general. So it's fun to do it's a fun, nice little break to just do a fun episode every now and then. So that's what we're doing today. Now this episode is covering a Hunter S. Thompson story. And I already know, if you're in the truth community, if you've delved down the whole Franklin cover-up, I know Hunter Thompson was a part of that. But I look at it as this. For one, to me it's entertaining to read the words and jump in the mind of a madman. And two, I mean, look at it this way, like, it's gonzo journalism, meaning that it's like reality mixed with fiction, mixed with like it's true stories but told through fiction, some of them, just because some of the stuff that he happened to do was illegal. So I mean, you can write about it, but you have to say it's fiction, kind of like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, how like it's technically labeled fiction but it's non-fiction. But the amount of crimes he committed within that whole book, he can't sit there and, publish it like, yeah, I did all this shit, He'd be in prison, well, if he was still alive. But, yeah. So I don't know if you want to tune in. If you don't. I'm not condoning anything that he's done. I just thought it's entertaining, if to say the least. It's never a dull moment with Hunter S. Thompson. So I wanted to share like little smaller stories that he has experienced throughout life. I'll probably do some more Hunter S. Thompson later on. But yeah, let's get into the show. Now, before jumping into a car, there's a thing called speedism and rules for driving fast. Hi, Mr. Thompson. My name is Wendy Blank from Suzuki. And I want more than anything else in the world to give you a brand new Suzuki, which has a top speed of 200 miles per hour. Yeah, I thought that would interest you. Call me anytime at blank. How long, oh Lord, how long? Some people wait all their lives for a telephone call like that. But not me. I get them constantly. And on some nights, I ask myself, why? Rules for driving fast. Speedism is the most recently identified disease that curses modern man. Yesterday's murdering speed freak is today's helpless victim of speedism. This is a big leap that has taken a long time to achieve. It is a milestone in medical history, and many unsung heroes have sacrificed themselves for it, including Sid Vicious and the actor Richard Pryor, who set himself on fire while researching the speedism virus. I did do a couple episodes on Sid Vicious, actually 3 episodes. I'll leave them in the link, well, not the link below, but I'll leave them in the credits. You can click on it if you're watching on YouTube. But yeah, this is wonderful news. A whole generation of coke fiends can rest easy now. They were not common addicts and criminals, no. They were helpless victims of a highly contagious virus. Spidetta virusium. The disease is debilitating, demoralizing, and incurable, leaving the victim racked with pain and utterly helpless for 6 to 9 months at a time. Speedism can be fatal when mixed with high-speed automobiles and whiskey. It is wrong. I condemn it. But some dingbats will do it anyway, and not all will survive. But so what? For the others, the living, here are some basic rules. Number 1. Make sure your car is functioning on all mechanical and electrical levels. Do not go out on any road to drive fast unless all your exterior lights are working perfectly. There is only failure and jail very soon for anyone who tries to drive fast with one headlight or a broken red tail light. This is automatic, unarguable, probable cause for a cop to pull you over and check everything in your car. You do not want to give them probable cause. Check your lights, gas gauge, and tire pressure before you drive anywhere. Rule number 2. Get familiar with the brake pressures on your machine before you drive any faster than 10 miles per hour. A brake drum that locks up the instant you touch the pedal will throw you sideways off the road and put you into a fatal egg beater, which means you will go to trial if it happens. Be very aware of your brakes. Rule number 3. Have no small wrecks. If you're going to loop out and hit something, hit it hard. Never mind that old school physics bullshit about the irresistible force and the immovable object. The main rule of the highway is that some objects are more movable than others. This occurs, for instance, when a speeding car goes straight through a plywood billboard, but not when one goes through a concrete wall. In most cases, the car going fastest sustains less damage than the slower moving vehicle. A small wreck is almost always both costly and embarrassing. I talked to a man tonight who said he had been demoted from head waiter to salad boy when he had a small wreck in the restaurant parking lot and lost all respect from his fellow coworkers. Quote, "They laughed at me and called me an ass," he said. "I should have hit the fucker at 75 instead of just 5, he whined. It cost me $6,800 anyway. I would have been martyr de, sorry, that's French, if I'd screwed it on and just mashed the bastard. These turds have made me an outcast. Rule number 4. This is the one more advanced rules, but let's pop it in here while we still have space. Avoid at all costs the use of any drug or drink, or hubris, or even boredom that might cause you to steal a car and crash it into a concrete wall, just to get the rush of the airbags exploding on you. This new fad among rich teenagers in LA is an extremely advanced technique that only pure amateurs should try. And it should never be done twice. Take my word for it. Rule number 5. The eating schedule should be as follows. Hot fresh spinach, Wellfleet oysters, and thick slabs of sourdough garlic toast with salt and black pepper. Eat this 2 hours before departure, in quantities as needed. The drink should be Grolsch green beer, a dry oaken flavored white wine, and a tall, full glass full of ice cubes, and Royal Salute Scotch whiskey for the supercharge factor. Strong black coffee should also be sipped while eating, with dark chocolate cake soaked in Grand Marnier for dessert. The smoking of oily hashish is optional, and in truth not recommended for use before driving at speeds up to 150 miles per hour in residential districts. The smoking of powerful hashish should be saved until after your return from the drive, when the nerve ends are crazy and raw. So now that we know the rules for driving fast, let's step into the vehicle and hear this account of Hunter S. Thompson versus the mountain lion. Well, now that everyone's buckled in, this is the Lion in the Cadillac. Fear? I know not fear. There are only moments of confusion. Some of them are deeply stamped on my memory, and a few will haunt me forever. One of my ugliest and most confused moments, I think, was when I was driving a junk Cadillac down the coast highway to Big Sur, and a large mountain lion jumped into the moving car. I'd stopped for a moment beside the road to put out a newspaper fire in the back seat, when this huge cat either jumped or fell off of a cliff and landed on its back in the gravel right beside me. I was leaning over the side and pouring beer on the fires when it happened. It was late in the day and I was alone when the beast hit the ground. I had a moment of total confusion, and so did the lion. Then I jumped back in the car and took off down the hill in low gear, thinking to escape certain death, or at least mutilation. The beast had tried to pounce on me from above, but missed, and now, as I shifted the junker into second, I heard a terrible snarling and realized that the cat was running right behind me and gaining. I was, in fact, terrified at that very moment. And I think I must have gone temporarily insane when the goddamn thing came right up beside me and jumped right into the car through the passenger side window like a bomb. It bounced against the dashboard and somehow turned the radio volume all the way up. Then it clawed me badly up my arm and one leg. That is why I shudder every time I hear a Chuck Berry tune. I can still smell the beast. I heard myself screaming as I tried to steer. There was blood all over the seat. The music was deafening, and the cat was still snarling and clawing at me. Then it scrambled over the seat and into the back, right into the pile of still-burning newspapers. I heard a screech of pain and saw the cat trying to hurl itself through the back of the window. We were still rolling along at about 30 miles per hour when I noticed my ball-peen hammer sticking out of the mangled glove compartment. I grabbed the hammer with my right hand, steering with my left, and swung it wildly over my shoulder at the mountain lion. Whack! I felt it hit something that vaguely felt like a carton of eggs. And then there was silence. No resistance in the back seat. Nothing. I hit the brakes and pulled over. My hand was still on the hammer when I looked back and saw that I had somehow hit the animal squarely on top of its head and driven the iron ball right through its skull and into its brain. It was dead, hunched on its back and filling the whole rear of the car, which was filling up with blood. I was no longer confused. So that's the tale of the lion and the Cadillac. Yeah, I don't know. I always found his stuff entertaining. Like I said, I know he's tied in with the Franklin cover-up and Bohemian Grove and all that. But if anything, the point I was trying to make earlier is, let's say he's an enemy. I guess the best way to view this episode would be keep your enemies close, or keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Jump inside the mind of the enemy so you can learn more about them. But yeah, we got a little extra time today, so I did have some stuff planned. I have another Hunter S. Thompson book called Ancient Gonzo Wisdom, so I figured I'd go through maybe an interview or two, so you can get some more of it. I figured this episode just focus more a little on H.S.T, you know. I do have to say one thing. I'd said earlier in the episode that I didn't have anything else planned as far as like breaking news or anything. I don't have any like breaking news planned, but I'm going to cover probably next episode the Tuskegee experiment, because normally I leave like a shit ton of open tabs on my phone so that way I kind of know what next episodes I'm doing. And I totally missed over it, but I did want to delve into the Tuskegee experiment because I actually don't know the full story. I heard it years ago, but it was like in some like YouTube video of like, I don't know, it was like a compilation or something. And I mean, it was like a 2 or 3 minute segment talking about the Tuskegee experiment. So it would be nice to delve deeper into it to autodidactic, you know. Educate myself, but also share that information with you all. Because, yeah, I'm going to keep talking about the beer bug wizard potion for a while. Today, honestly, like I said, is just kind of a silly episode, and I wanted to put it out. I had some silly episodes planned, some kind of give you a break, you know. But, yeah, we'll check out this interview. This is an old interview taken from Ancient Gonzo Wisdom, ABC News, February 20th, 1967. It's an interview with a reporter about the Hells Angels. Reporter: You spent over a year with the Hells Angels. What kind of an impression did you come out with of certain individuals? Hunter S. Thompson responds: It gives them recognition, a sense of companionship, group loyalty, and power. They get together, and they can frighten people who might ordinarily frighten them. Especially now, since the California Attorney General did an official report on them, they've gotten a mass amount of attention and national publicity. They made the cover of the Saturday Evening Post, movies, this book, talking about Hell's Angels, his book. There would be no other way for these people to do this without going out and doing something like the Boston Strangler or the Mad Bomber. It's an easy way to get what they can't get in the square world. It's a world subculture of dropouts and washouts and people who just can't make it in this automated technological society. Reporter says, How would you describe a typical Hells Angels party? Hunter S. Thompson responds, It varies from big ones, the runs, to the continuing round of beer parties here and there. On a run, they might get 150 to 200 bikes to anywhere up to 300 in a state park somewhere. They park them in a big ring around a massive bonfire, sometimes 215 feet tall. and they'd buy about, $100 worth of beer just as a starter for the afternoon. They'll drink hundreds of dollars worth of beer in a matter of 2 or 3 days. They've actually cleaned out whole towns' beer supplies. At the same time, they'll be taking amphetamines, pills, ... The reporter says, LSD? Hunter responds, well, that comes a little later. They start off with pills, barbiturates, and amphetamines, mixing them all together. Ha ha! Reed and Hunter S. Thompson and somebody's just revving their engine outside. I hope that caught it on the audio. Mixing them all together, then beer, and then wine starts, and later on there will be some LSD. Everything gets mixed in all together. Reporter says, Mr. Thompson, what does your book attempt? Hunter replies, I just try to liken them to other people. People like the Hells Angels who don't wear the colors, like I say. There are thousands of losers and thugs, muggers, and petty criminals who would like to have this kind of attention, but don't. Reporters ask, to summarize, how do you explain a Hell's Angel? Hunter replies, well, he's between 20 and 40 years old, though more likely in late 20s. He'd be a high school dropout. He'd have a minor police record with a lot of arrests and a few convictions, but anything serious. Maybe a year or so in jail, a few times for small things. He'd be a motorcycle freak, a sort of lifetime bike rider. That would get him into the Hells Angels. After that, he becomes sort of a creature of the club. And it gets more and more bizarre. His police record will start piling up because he's much more obvious. Reporter asks, you spent at least a year knowing them and living with them. What was your most vivid impressions of them? Hunter replies, vivid impressions? Well, visually, there's no sight I can think of that compares to these Labor Day runs when they got several hundreds of bikes out on the road. What is a run exactly? The reporter asks. Hunter responds, a run is a sort of gigantic picnic or outing. They'd gather in one spot in the city, then go to some sort of vacation in the mountains or the beach, or somewhere all together for a big 3 or 4 day party. That's when they really frighten people, because they're all together and they dressed in the wildest way they can. They're all drunk and out of their minds and eating pills. It's like an army of Huns has moved into your town. They don't necessarily go to destroy the place, but they work themselves into such a frenzy, and there's so many of them. Of course, the townspeople are all worried and frightened and carrying weapons and locking up their doors and locking up their daughters in the basement, that sort of thing. It creates a very tense situation. Slightest thing can blow into a riot or an attack, and the police can't really handle 200 or 300 of them running wild without a lot of reinforcements. Reporter says, sometimes in your book, I almost get the impression you're saying that their notoriety is overstated. Hunter replies, yeah, the Hells Angels themselves aren't as dangerous or are not as nearly much of a mess as they seem to be. But if you just drop it at that and go on to say, they're not so dangerous, go on and ignore them, then you miss the whole point I was getting at about the Hells Angels being thousands of other losers just by some other name. I'm much more aware of it now, after all this sort of thing. I see the Hells Angels everywhere, and they don't wear colors, even as far as Chicago. Reporter asks, are these the kind of hopeless? I mean, after observing them for a year, and you say that you can make it in this automated society, is it a hopeless cause? Hunter replies, well, they are hopeless as long as they decide to stay Hells Angels. And hopeless in the sense that you're talking about. They're not hopeless with themselves as long as they insist on being that obvious as a Hells Angel, Why would you hire someone with a gold earring and a shoulder-length hair, stinking of old grease and slime with a police record 2 feet long? They're not really eligible for good jobs. Now, if they decided to quit this, and shave. The reporter says, "Do many decide to quit?" Hunter replies, "Yeah, I'm not sure what the percentage would be. There are 3 ways to stop being a Hell's Angel. 1 is to die, and a lot of them do that. 1 is to go to prison, and a lot of them do that. The other is to quit. I guess it would be about more quit than go to prison, and more go to prison than die. But those are the 3 exits they can make." Reporter asks, "Is it difficult to quit? Are there any reprisals from the group if you do?" Hunter replies, It depends on why you quit. Sometimes there are, and it depends on when you quit. It gets harder and harder as you get older because you've built up more of a police record and your friends become more of an in-group outlaw thing. I remember one of them saying he'd like to quit, but he didn't have friends anywhere else. He didn't know how. Reporter asked, "What usually motivated a man to just quit?" Hunter responds, "Depends on how intelligent he is. If he joins at 21 or something, and if he has sense, and quite a few of them have enough sense to understand their situation. They don't understand how to handle it, but those who have a sense of options begin to realize that as they approach about 30, they're losing all their options. It gets harder to get a job, it gets hard to find new friends, harder to do almost anything. So once past 30, it sort of confirms that it's either jail, a broad crash on a bike, or being shot by someone. Younger ones quit." The reporter asked, "What's the relationship between the motorcycle and the personality of the Hells Angels? Do you think there is one?" Hunter replies, "Well, obviously. It's like carrying a massive gun, a bazooka around you with you on the street. It gives them a tremendous sense of power and freedom. It makes them very obvious. You can't ignore a Hells Angels on one of his chopped hogs booming up and down the street. It causes a thing that rattles windows and frightens pedestrians. So without a motorcycle, he'd be just another punk. So it's what I'd call an equalizer." Reporter asked, "You pointed out in the book that sometimes they get an almost perverse pleasure in being exceedingly nice to crash their image." Hunter replies, "Yeah. When they run into a situation where there are people obviously frightened of them, they already have the attention that they're looking for anyway. So it isn't necessary to tear up the place because it makes it sort of unpleasant if you get arrested or if somebody gets sliced with a knife. As long as they got the attention they're looking for, they enjoy it. They enjoy setting up this sort of tense situation and seeing people quiver like this. 'Yes, sir. You want some more coffee?' That sort of business. They'll take advantage of these things." You spoke about the intelligence of the Hells Angels, and you said some of them had real common sense. Would you say you found any geniuses among them? Hunter replies, "No, unless they were so disguised that I didn't realize it. You don't find people. You do find people who are much brighter than average. There are very few, but some. For instance, one of the brightest of the San Francisco Angels can't read. Didn't go to school until the 3rd grade. You find some with very articulate instinct for what's happening, but they simply have a hard time saying it. Most of them are not really that smart." Reporter asking his final question, "Is there any conclusion at all to be reached?" Hunter replies with his final answer. "About the Hells Angels? Only that it represents a sort of growing menace that might or might not be called the Hells Angels. These people are breeding all over the country, and the more complicated the job apparatus and the more qualified you have to be to get a job, the more people are going to be driven and forced out of the job market. There are motorcycle clubs starting everywhere and existing everywhere. For that matter, all these people don't ride motorcycles and they don't all wear jackets saying Hell's Angels, but they're all around. And there are a lot more of them. You could draw your own conclusion on what's going to happen when we get to a certain level. I'm not sure what that level will ever be. I ain't gonna lie, that last statement kind of resonated with me because it's like, for one, he didn't see what that level would be because Hunter would be screaming at the rooftops right now with the current situation of what's going on with these mandates, and you're going to see a lot more of what he was describing of you're kind of a Hell's Angel without wearing the jacket if you're going to be fired or whatever, and they're asking for all these requirements to have a job. You're going to see a lot more of like gangsta shit, honestly. People robbing, people mugging, people going into stores and holding people up at gunpoint just to get food. I mean, and it's all Agenda 21. It's their plan, to basically destroy the world as it is and recreate it in their own image. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope it was a fun episode for you all. Like I said, I do plan on doing a heavy hitter next episode on Tuskegee Experiment. We will delve into that, the whole history, the whole story of it. I myself am not very educated, so I'll be learning with you. Autodidactic, self-learning. But you all have a good day, and I'll catch you later.
We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.